Hey Team Quadzilla, welcome to Studio 1A at the Quadzilla World Headquarters in Temperance, Michigan. Today I want to talk to you briefly, I hope, about the next section of my ebook, How to Conquer Your Mind to Achieve Your Goals. And this is the third video, so if you've missed the previous two, you might want to check those out. But today I want to talk about failing forward and baby steps. So first let's talk about failing forward. Failure is kind of a scary word, at least it is for me. I honestly have feared failure most of my life, and it can be paralyzing in some ways depending on what it is that I'm fearing in particular, but it can keep me from even trying. And so recently I read this book by John Maxwell called Failing Forward, and in it he gives all kinds of awesome practical advice about how to regard failure in our life and to recognize that it is in fact okay to fail, and honestly that the greatest life lessons we learn come from our failures rather than our successes. So we really just need to change our mind about how we view failure and to kind of even embrace it, really, to know that it's part of the process and the journey of making ourselves better, to change our habits or to acquire a new skill or whatever it is. Failure is going to be part of that, and it doesn't matter if it's a physical activity or some kind of a vocational skill or a relationship issue or skill or a bad habit, whatever it is. There's going to be failure if we are trying to get better at it. So anyways, what do we do? How do we fail forward? Probably the best way I can describe this is to think about riding a bike. Okay, so picture yourself riding a bike, and you're trying to get from point A to point B. And you're riding your bike along. Maybe you've just learned to ride your bike, and you're going down the street, and then you fall off your bike, and you crash, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell off my bike. I thought I had this figured out. I was doing the thing. I'm riding my way down the street here, and then all of a sudden, I crash and I fall off. So what happens next? What do? Do you have to take your bike and carry it all the way back to the start where you began your bike ride? Or do you simply pick up your bike right where you crashed and take off again from that point? I think the answer there is pretty obvious. You don't have to start all over. And I think that's part of what we get stuck in our mind when we're having this fear about failing, is that we're going to have to start all over, and we really don't. We just pick up where we left off and plow ahead. So maybe that's a slam dunk for you and it's really easy, but I just think about, even healthy eating, for example. What happens when you're doing really well and you're eating lots of vegetables and feeling good and losing weight maybe or whatever it is, and then all of a sudden the party comes on Saturday and you recognize too late that you've just eaten a half a dozen cookies, and now you feel terrible, and you have regrets about the mistake that you made, but now it feels like all is lost and all the vegetables you just ate must be for nothing. That is all lies. It's all false. It's not true. One meal, one snack, one binge is not going to destroy your entire journey in healthy eating, okay? So put it behind you and pick up where you left off and get back to doing what you were doing at the start. That's failing forward, okay? So you can apply this principle to anything in your life, whether it's a relationship that you're trying to build or to grow. And yes, mistakes are going to happen. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be conflicts, and you're going to have to work through those and press on from that point. You don't necessarily have to start all over. Um, and, you know, so there you go. I highly recommend reading John Maxwell's book, Failing Forward. I wrote an article to summarize the book on my website if you want to check that out, and if you're not maybe a big reader. But anyway, the key for failing forward to me is this illustration about the bicycle. So keep that in mind. All right. One last thing on failing forward. Again, just to emphasize the point about getting back on where you left off. This is not a new concept. Even C.S. Lewis many years ago said that you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. All right, so kind of a different twist there on the concept. But you know, even if you have failed for a long time and you're up to this point today, you still have the opportunity to change the future and what the ending is, and that involves just failing forward and moving in the positive direction.